You may remember that Carter Starocci won 174 pounds last year, beating Mekhi Lewis in the finals. Well, this year I see 3 outcomes for the weight. The first outcome is that an underdog wins, and honestly, anybody but those top 2 guys are underdogs. There are actually 8 returning All-Americans to this weight, which is more than a lot of other weight classes. But with Kemmerer leaving and Hidley and Massa, with that mass exodus, this weight class is more open than ever. So out of those underdog guys remaining, who could sneak up and win a title? Well, I see 3 options here. The first of them is Mekhi Labriola. The Cornhusker is a 3-time national placer, finishing 6th, 3rd, and 7th. And last year, he had kind of an up and down nationals. In his career, he actually has yet to advance past the quarterfinals at nationals. But the good news for Labriola is that only 2 of the 5 guys he lost to last year are remaining in the field. One of them is Ohio State's Ethan Smith. The Buckeye is placed in the past, but last year he made just the round of 12. But overall, he has a pretty reputable career, and you may remember that at the beginning of last season, he had a pretty tough match against Mekhi Lewis in the Ohio State versus Virginia Tech dual meet, which we should see again. That match ended with a kind of a skirmish, like almost a fight at the end of the match. I don't know what was said, but there's definitely some beef between those 2 guys that I hope we see again. So earlier, I mentioned that Labriola only made it so far at nationals. And actually, out of all these guys remaining at 174, only 3 of them have ever made it into the semifinals. Besides those top 2 guys at the weight, which I'll get to in just a second, the third is Demetrius Romero of Utah Valley. In 2021, Romero barely lost to Starocci with a 2-0 decision. Also that year going into nationals, he was undefeated. He ended up taking 6th that year after he medically forfeited out. In between the injuries and medical red shirts and other red shirts and extra eligibility, Romero's actually in his 8th season of eligibility. If there's a time for him to get it done, this is the year. But we've also seen that guys in the past that have been around for that long have struggled a bit at nationals. But if he is 100% healthy and back to a full recovery, he can be a threat. So if the first outcome is that an underdog wins the weight, that means there are only 2 outcomes left. Either Carter Starocci wins the weight or Mekhi Lewis. And yes, that's simple, but I'm going to break down the possibility that each guy wins it, as well as why each is better than last year. So let's talk about Virginia Tech's Mekhi Lewis first. Throughout his career, excluding the injuries, he's lost to only 5 guys in college, and only one of them remains at this weight class. That's Carter Starocci. He's a 2-time national finalist and 1-time champion, beating Vincenzo Joseph in 2019. He's 1 for 2 in the finals against the Nittany Lions. I like watching Mekhi wrestle because he goes in there, he attacks, he's aggressive, he goes to get that first takedown, just like in the national finals last year. Another reason I like him a lot is because he's a real personable guy. Remember in last year's semifinals, he broke down in tears after he won. And in an interview after, he said that he had actually almost quit wrestling.
I was just really struggling mentally too. Past 2 years, COVID really messed me up.
And with making the national finals again last year, after many doubted that he'd do it, I think he gets back to basics, gets back to training, really hits the ground running hard this season, and is a formidable foe against Starocci. So let's talk about Starocci. He's somebody who's going to work you out with his heavy hand, with his heavy collar tie. He's going to get in there, tie you up, and really just wear you down. And that's important against Mekhi because neither of them are really going to ride each other when they're on top. This match is going to be won in the neutral position. Whether it goes to overtime again or stays in the 3rd period, one of these guys is going to have to get at least a takedown. I'm predicting that this year it's finished in the 3rd period. And just like Mekhi hits the ground running hard in the offseason, I think Starocci did the same thing. He follows the Penn State path and develops more and more every single year. That's why I think he's going to be even tougher of a foe this season.
I'm going to get better next year. I'm hunting everybody again, so I'm just kind of have that mindset. That's what it is, so I'm here.
And if Starocci wins, he'll be a 3-time national champion, just like Aaron Brooks will be if he wins next season. To find out what my predictions are on 184, you can check out this video next and the full playlist of my weight by weight previews releasing every single week.